This
Single
conference will
most
now be
common,
recorded.
Sorry.
that's the single biggest comment I get when I talk to people is the speed in which you guys can provide the links and videos and that kind of stuff. A lot of people, that's just kind of how everybody likes to get that information today. I think if you sent them something that they had to print out or read online, you wouldn't get near as good a response.
I muted myself. I didn't want my speakers to feedback. Yeah, I think it'll work well. It's a really good system, and people seem to like it. And it's as simple as just responding to emails. If you want it to be that simple, you don't have to log into the portal. I guess let me just do that real quick while we're looking. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So yeah, there it is. And of course, and I never use the search function, and I probably should, but you can search for anything. I was going to let people know a lot of the stuff they need to look at are things about the air assist, how to set that and how to choose it and that kind of thing. And even the head, your cleaning video, for the optics, Robert. I think I can just type in optics and get, see there's.
Yep.
There's the focus, there's the autofocus 101. That overview is good for everybody. And then there's your video we made into that article there,
Yep.
And then I added the PM schedule for that section for the optics in there as well. So you won't have to go find that somewhere else.
Oh, good. Hey, Brian, while we're on that right there, I tried to find that documentation you were talking about the other day on the alignment process, and there's a video that talks about the alignment, but I couldn't find really much in written form.
I think it's in the manual, the written part.
Yeah, the actual Nova. Yeah, I looked at that. There was just one little blurb on it, and I just
well, then run
wanted
with it.
to make sure I wasn't missing something.
Run with it, man. If you can expand on anything that isn't covered in here, I'm sure the stuff in the manual may be pretty simplistic. It may just say clean your optics X number,
Yeah.
whatever.
It just basically shows you your laser beam path and what mirrors you have, and then that was about it. There wasn't much detail other than which direction you turn your knobs to adjust your mirrors left or right, and that's one of the things that is only in the video that you guys have posted that I'd like to get my hands on, because you can't read it in the video. It goes by way too fast.
Gotcha. Let me see. Did it look like some China dot? Well, the video was.
Yeah, it was done by China, no doubt about it.
Now was it okay, yeah, it was. Let me see if I can find that documentation. It may be on their website. I'll find it and send you a link to it. I'll look.
Yeah, that would be great, because I think that I can elaborate on that and make a little more sense to it, because when you watch a video, number one, it's way too small, you can't read it, and they pass by it so fast, there's just no way you're going to get anything out of it.
Okay, I'll go back and review the video and see if we can get that documentation to you so you can have it for screenshots or reference or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, even if I have to re-illustrate it, that's what I'll do. I just I want to make sure that it's consistent with what's already out there.
Right. So, but yeah, and on the portal, you can go in and log in or sign up if you're already logged in and submit a ticket. But you don't even have to do that. You can just email support@thunderlaserusa.com and it'll generate a ticket. But let me show you what happens inside there. And some of this, it's got some names and stuff, but I don't think it doesn't give addresses or phone numbers. So, but this is how our calls come in, and we can go straight to the test and look at all the conversations, and you can see who is responding. I replied, Chris replied, China will get in there and reply. So it keeps it all in one place. And then not only that, we can go back and look at the complete history of that machine. We can go back and say, oh yeah, a couple months ago, the macro quit working, or there was another issue just like this. So having all that, is great. And then it keeps up with everything. It reminds us to stay on top of things, whether it's overdue and what the priority is. So it's really neat. And, you know, I can assign it to another group. I can assign it to escalations, and it will go to China and the UK, and they would be looking at it too. So we've got people on multiple time zones in here working on this. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be showing this stuff, but I figure it's not too bad. There's my agents. So see, we've got 8 people right now watching these things. UK, China, Alaska, Lightburn, Jason, Clay, Chris, and myself, you know, and we may be adding more.
Is that Zendesk?
What's that?
Hey, Brian, so when you, oh, go ahead, Ron.
I was asking if it's Zendesk.
No, actually, it's Fresh Desk.
Okay,
So,
gotcha.
Yeah, one of the vertical pieces.
We use Zendesk at my employer, and it looks similar. So I was like, couldn't tell
Same
if it
concept. It's probably pretty similar. So
yeah. Cool. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Mine was not a related question.
Yeah, Brian, I just had a question. So when you respond, when you get a ticket, somebody submits a ticket and you respond, does it send an email to them so they don't have to be in this system to know that you've responded?
Yes, they can simply reply to the emails that they get, and it will automatically update the ticket. They never have to get into the system.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. The other cool thing about it is if you actually submit a ticket, or if we use some of the widgets that we have, as you type your problem, knowledge base articles will be populated that have to do with that, and it may, you know, lend itself to, oh, hey, look, there's an article for what I was looking for. Let me check out the article before I do the ticket. And
That's
you can
great.
be aggressive with it. You could be aggressive to the point where I could toggle on a switch that said you have to read at least one knowledge base article before you're able to submit a ticket. But I don't want to turn that on. That doesn't sound good to me. I wouldn't want that to happen, you know.
Right.
So it suggests, I mean, if you want to look at them, fine. If you don't, you can still submit a ticket. So
Well, sometimes you don't know what you don't know, right?
yeah, right. But it, you know, and we can tag these things, whether it's a chiller thing, you know, there's lines. So we can associate all of these problems and go back and look and go, 12 people had this problem in the last quarter. And we can look at parts failure rates. You know, all of a sudden there's been an uptick in power switches failing, for instance. But now it also has the metrics in here, I think, where it shows how the contacts are growing. You know, because of course we're going to see more power switch failures if we have 300 people in the system instead of 3, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a big part of it too. But it's a really cool system. It works really well, and it's as close to real time as you can get. So I'm a real big proponent of it. So anyway, I just wanted to cover that for a minute. Whoop.
Yeah, that makes it nice.
There we go. I think that's better. All right, I should have cleared the screen out. So you'd probably rather look at the screen than me, but you know, that's the way it goes. So, all right, well, anybody got any questions?
Yeah, I got one. And it might be more of a Ruida question than a Thunder question, but I don't know if you can see this. Here's a, oh God, you can't really see it, can you?
A little.
It's
kind
no,
of
you
hard.
can't. Hang on, let me see if I can, how do you share an image on this thing directly? Can I do it as a chat thing?
I've never done it. I'm not going to push any buttons I don't know about. I tend to crash.
I don't know. I'm not familiar with this software, so yeah. Hang on. Let's see if I can. There we are. You see the circle bit?
I
This is
do.
like, and there's a line missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've noticed a few times, like, you know, you send a file over, and particularly the complex ones like this, there's not that many layers. There's like 6 layers, but there's a bunch of lines. And sometimes it will miss a line, and I haven't dared. Well, actually, no, it does miss the lines, because when I did the next file after that, it missed different lines, which I failed to pick up, and then it didn't draw them. I mean, is that just a common thing? I mean, if I resend the file, it tends to work again, but sometimes it just misses lines sending it from computer to laser, I think.
Is that artwork generated within Lightburn?
No, but I mean, it's random. It's not like the same lines. So I mean, it's SVGs that I brought into Lightburn and messed with and done things, and but like it didn't miss the same line. Well, actually, no, it was the back of that device, so it would have been a different thing. But I have seen different lines go missing at different intervals, so it just seems to be random.
a better question for Lightburn. Maybe submit the file on their forum and have them debug it and take a look and see if they can help figure out what's going on.
Yeah,
That,
I mean, I'm figuring it's not probably a Thunder thing per se, but it's either Lightburn or Rereader or some weirdness with the USB connection. I don't know, but
yeah, it could be a connectivity thing. It could just be in the file transfer. Does it happen when you start and send? If you actually,
no, I'm not doing that. I'm just sending and then I start on the laser because otherwise I
okay,
get those
well,
other
that
air
eliminates.
problems.
So
I
yeah,
know it's like completely unrelated because it was neither a thunder laser nor Lightburn, but I've experienced stuff like that before, like at the makerspace with um, the full spectrum laser, where it's a somewhat more complex file than normal, but like it just like completely misses the like various like vector paths that were in the file, and then just resending it to the laser software seems to fix it. It doesn't.
Yeah,
I I know they're different systems, but I've definitely seen related things happening.
yeah,
yeah.
and I'm
Now,
not too fussed because I just keep an eye on it and I know what lines are supposed to be there. So if any go missing, and I can resend it afterwards if needs be, as long as I don't move the thing before I, when once it's finished cutting, as long as I don't touch it, then I can resend those lines. But you
so
know,
so if you do get a good send and it has all your data there, you can repeat that and it's okay, right? I
yeah,
mean, okay, yeah. It sounds like some sort of transmission, some communication deal to me.
yeah, and that's what I'm kind of. It feels like that. So
Now we have
I
been
just
getting
thought I'd mention it.
quite a few people, and it's not really a problem. They're designing an Illustrator, and a lot of this artwork is for print, and they use a lot of masks, and
Right.
things like that.
Mm,
And when
yeah.
you put
Yeah,
it over, it does weird
I
things.
can imagine. Yeah, I don't have any of that in my files, but
Anything, yeah, anything done with masks is going to need to be like pathfindered like into its
Yeah,
own
and flattened
like
and
yeah
all that.
flatted.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
These are just straight SVG lines, so there's nothing too fancy going on. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to submit a ticket and check out our support ticket system, we can. Yeah. I mean, if you want to send me the file, I could look at it and try to send it over on mine and see. But the only thing I could do is hope that the file looks the way it should.
yeah,
And,
I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, I'm just keeping an eye on it, and like I say, I can always resend it. I mean, usually if I spot, I've gotten into the habit of like look at the controller when I send the file over, and if I spot that missing line, I'll just send it again, and usually it's fine. So
now, what about when you look at it in the preview? You're saying that the preview and everything in Lightburn looks fine. It's only when you're sending it that you're getting that?
that's right. Yeah,
Wow. And you're connected USB?
yeah.
You may try Ethernet connection and see if that does anything.
Yeah, we've
One
tried
option.
messing with that a bit. We haven't got an Ethernet cable long enough to reach the machine from where things are in our house, and we got one of those Ethernet to Wi-Fi thingies, but we couldn't get that to go. So
Gotcha. That may be
I feel
something
like that would just introduce more errors.
it might do. Yeah, I don't know.
Like
I
having
mean,
to send the signal like
yeah,
wirelessly and then receive it. And,
yeah,
that's kind of wild. But it may be worth noting and putting a ticket up on Lightburn. At least it
yeah. I
makes
might do that just to see if anyone knows anything. I
yeah.
suspect it's a connection thing. I don't know. But
But anything like that, I try to get people to put it over there. I'll mention it to them, just so they have kind of like in my system. It's good to know
yeah,
what's going on, so they can say, oh, that's happened 3 times. Maybe we should look at that kind of thing. So,
yeah,
I'm not one. I always hear all these people, talk about if you see something, a crime or something, or you see something not right, call the police. And I'm like, why do I want to bother them if some kids are walking down the road? But even when I go to the meetings, like the neighborhood meetings, they're like, yeah, call us because they use it for their statistics.
right,
And
yeah,
helps them plan where they need to do patrols and stuff. So I've gotten kind of better at letting people know when there's a possible issue. I
yeah.
try.
I'll maybe stick it up on Lightburn then.
I mean, that'd be a bad idea. So, um,
One thing I've noticed you've seen quite a bit on the global forum is quite a few people having problems with their lenses within a short amount of time of when they fire up their laser.
mhm.
I don't
I'm
know.
thinking we should. I'm sure they put in new optics when they're at the factory and they test them, but maybe they're just not. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to maybe clean them before you start. Maybe that should be a part of the startup process. If nothing else, it'll get people used to doing it and get them
Yeah,
in that, you know.
yeah.
So I think that's a good point. You know, I made that failure document that's meant to scare people into cleaning their objects every day, but I don't know how well.
Well, once they get dirty, trust me, I burnt one up about 2 weeks after I had the laser, only because I forgot to turn my air on because I have shop air into my laser, and it didn't take 10 minutes. I was doing a lot of heavy engraving, and it smoked that lens in a matter of minutes, and it was purely my fault. But it doesn't take long
No,
if it's dirty.
not at all. Right. Oh, I can mute right there. Okay, cool. So, it's really all I had to cover. It looks like John's in here. Hey, man.
Hey, John.
How's everybody?
Good. I see you haven't taken a hammer to your laser yet. It must be doing okay for you.
Uh, well, I've been having a problem, but I just haven't documented it so I can give you the information. So I'll wait till next time when I document all the error messages I get.
Ah, well, you want to talk about them now?
Well, it's basically has to do with the laser homing.
Okay.
You know, if I use absolute coordinates, it's fine. If I try to change the coordinates and then want to go back to absolute coordinates, it won't. And it doesn't want to go back to home. And then if I put a 4-inch job in the laser, it frames out an 8-inch job. And then the only way I can get it to home is to go to Lightburn, disconnect, add a new laser, and then restart it all over again, and it's fine.
Maybe we can schedule a time tomorrow. I can remote in and we can spend a little time on it, see if we can figure out what's going on, if that's good with you.
Yeah, but the error is not. In other words, once I reinstall it on Lightburn, then the error goes away, and it works fine. It'll work fine for a week, and then it'll all of a sudden it just won't home anymore. And then no matter what I do or what I try, I can't get it to home in the upper left-hand corner, and I can't use absolute coordinates anymore. And I got to go to Lightburn, but it gives me error messages. It's telling me things like I'm out of bounds or,
Mm-hmm.
just other. And I haven't really documented. I should have wrote them down. I haven't.
Okay.
But I will. So sometime during this week, it'll happen again. I'll make a note of all the error messages, and then I'll give them all to you, and you'll tell me. And then one time it did go back to home, it banged in the upper left-hand corner. I thought it sounded like it was thunder. Boom! It just when it banged in the upper corner. And
Do you have mechanical limit switches for X and Y, or do you have the optical sensors? Do you know? I have a document about that. I'm going to snag your email address before we get over with. I want to send you a link or two about an issue about the sensor flag getting bent if it's an optical sensor for the end stops. There's a little sensor flag, that breaks the beam, and that flag bent, and that's what can cause that. Otherwise, if you have mechanical switches, either the lever's bent or something's going on with that switch where it's not contacting when it's trying to go home. And I think that's probably what you're going to find is that you probably have a homing sensor issue.
Okay.
So it can't tell the Ruida that I'm at 000 if one of the sensors is bad.
Okay.
So it has to guess, and that sounds like it could very well be what's going on. And we could even shoot to try to troubleshoot that a little bit tonight if you want, or first thing in the morning if you want.
Right.
Just let me know.
Yeah, let's wait till I get the error again, or let me look at the file, the information you'll send me. And the error messages are all different, and they're all on the controller. They're not on Lightburn.
Right.
They're all these error messages. It says press escape, and then you press escape, and
yeah.
But other than that, when I reset it with Lightburn and give it a new name and put in the measurements of the bed, it's fine. It works fine.
Okay. Yeah, we can fix that.
Let me get the error. This way we can knock it all off at one time.
Okay. Yeah, and I think I have a pretty good idea about what's going on with the error messages. You're going to get those until we fix the sensor problem, if there is one, because it's basically crazy. The laser doesn't know where it is. And then when you set it up from scratch, you kind of give it a fresh start, and then it forgets again after a while. So we can fix that.
That's what it's like me.
I was gonna say I have that problem.
Right.
Right there with you.
Maybe the laser just needs a good night's sleep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Other than
actually,
that, when it's home and fine, it's working fine, it's doing everything it's supposed to do. So I'm real happy,
sure.
I'm sure I knew you would help me get to the bottom of it. You will.
Let's see. Let me show you that thing real quick if I can get a screen up here. Can you see a screen right now?
I can see a screen.
Yep.
Where's that going? All right, bear with me just a minute here. I've got to find that. There we go. So let me go into the tickets, and I think I have this one in here. I hope I do. Sensor flag. Ooh, maybe I don't. It was in the old system. I need to fix it. I don't have this. I'll get you the document. I'll have to remake it on the sensor flag thing, but I will get that to you this afternoon.
Okay, good.
While I'm thinking about it, before I forget, what's your email, and I'll go ahead and make a note of it.
The number 4 and the word close at gmail.com.
Oh, that's easy.
Are you a realtor?
I was, and
Okay.
Oh, you used to kick people out of their homes.
I certainly did. Unfortunately, I did.
Hey, it's a
you're
dirty
laughing.
job.
That's what I
Somebody's
did.
gotta do it. Somebody's got to
Somebody got to do it. It was me,
right.
But I worked for a bank, and unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't pay their bills, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Sad thing, but it happens.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sure enough.
But I gave that up, so I don't kick anybody out at Christmas anymore. And and it's sad when you have to do that, but
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm semi-retired right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll fix this and I'll get this to you this evening. It may be a little
Okay.
later this evening, but I'll be sure and get it out. I made myself a note. So, and if I have to, I'll write it with Sharpie on my forehead so I don't forget.
There you go.
Cool. Well, Ron, you got anything new?
I don't. Not really. I'm making good progress on my garage, so I'm close to pulling the trigger and like figuring out how far away 3 weeks is, and if I'll be ready for the whatever 3 week lead time that seems to be the case. What's the process for that? Do I reach out to you directly? Like if I click the schedule a call with an expert button on the website, does that just connect me with a call with you, Brian?
Well, all of that stuff sales now.
Okay.
Since we separated that stuff, I'm kind of out of the loop. I have information. I have access to some of that information, but I haven't been in the system in so long. I'm not sure if my information will be accurate. So yeah, the sales team, Grant or Rebecca, and we've got a new person joining this week. They'll be all part of the sales team, and they'll have the answers on that. And that's we've been seeing a lot of this logistics thing since you kind of halfway brought it up. And yeah, this whole losing machines and things that are happening, it looks like that's exploding on us. But again, with our volume, we used to have 70 new machines out a year, and now we could do that in a month. So just the sheer numbers are making it look a lot worse than it is, because all of a sudden all these issues are popping up, and it's just because of the percentages. So really, if you look at the numbers, the logistics issues are still relatively low, but unfortunately they seem to be rearing their ugly heads, and they're hopefully getting better. But if we had the resources to have our own Thunder truck and send them out with the lasers, we definitely would be doing that. So maybe as we grow, that's something we can look at on the horizon.
No, that wasn't meant as a dig about the 3 week thing.
I know.
Like
I was
ordering
using
anything that big, I kind of expect a lead time like that, especially if it's coming from overseas. But
yeah, well, the lead times, I think they're up into November now, maybe
okay,
December on some of the machines.
yeah,
I think the 35s and the 51s are really a lot more, I think more of those go out than the 24s and 60s and 63s, or the
yeah.
Odins. I think we only have one or two Odins out.
I
So,
believe I'm leaning towards the 3580. So
Yeah.
is that one of the ones that is further out, or is it because
Yeah, it probably is. That one's pretty popular.
yeah, figured
Um,
as such, but yeah,
and
okay,
but and 2 months even is not unheard of, and that really wasn't that bad in the grand scheme of things. You know, when I was dealing with that on a daily basis, it was lead time was about 2 months, which is pretty typical for all the high end,
yeah,
machine with all the stuff going on.
right. Well, pardon me a moment. My dog got into the garden and pulled an asparagus fern out.
Oh,
So
you better go get it.
yeah, pardon me.
So how about you, Gleno? How's it going, man?
Hey, doing good. Doing some more testing on making letter blocks. This is a letter
Okay.
block, right? And so you've got so much wood that you need to carve away so you
Hmm.
have the relief. Now, this is actually one that's made out of maple, wasn't done on a laser. It's a different kind of machine they use it for. So my preliminary test right now is just on plain pine. uh, it's working. I do have a little bit of a drifting, when the laser starts and stops, you get that little edge, or sometimes it'll create kind of a mirror of the line when it starts again. So I'm trying to figure out if that's based on speed and power.
Have you entered the reverse scan offsets in your machine?
What was that?
The reverse scanning offsets, the reverse compensation settings?
Don't know about those.
Okay, so when you're engraving, there's a lot of inertia going on, and the faster you engrave, the faster that head swings back and forth.
Right.
And belts, mechanical backlash is different one way than the other. And we've got some values that you can enter in to help with that, to clean up your
Oh,
engravings, because it basically is a hack to overcome some of the stuff going on mechanically that you just have no control over. On
okay.
So there is an article about that
On the support page.
on the support page, scanning offset value adjustment, and I guess it would help if you could see it.
Yeah,
Value.
Glenn, there should have been a little business side card in your toolbox that had a bunch of numbers on it. And
Yes.
that's the numbers that Brian's talking about.
Oh,
Yeah.
I put those in, those numbers.
Did you turn it on afterwards?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Maybe you should shoot me a email with a picture of what you're talking about, some imagery of it, so we can kind of figure out what's going on with it then.
Right.
The
Well,
first,
I'm dealing with different density wood, and then I'm sure, speed is going to have a factor in it. It needs to be at least an eighth, or it could be a little less, but let's say a 16th deep in order to have the ink go over that without touching the
right.
bottom of the wood, right? So, I did one cut and I forgot to change the power on it, so it wasn't deep enough, but it still had that offset just a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, we can help with that.
Okay,
Get it. And if you've got those settings in, then we can eliminate that as a variable, I think.
all right,
So it's probably going to be like you say, dialing in your stuff,
right,
playing with the focus and the line interval and speed and power. Even air assist can affect it. So
right.
trying to think if there's anything else going on. I don't have anything new. Nothing exciting has been going on. Just busy.
Can I ask a chiller question then?
Yeah, absolutely.
I know last week somebody was talking about moving the chiller to the other end of the laser and
Hmm.
something about extension kits or whatever,
Hmm.
to move that. But I noticed for me, the problem is the alarm cable is very short.
Hmm.
Do you guys sell that in the kit, a longer alarm cable? Is there
It
such a
is.
thing?
It is. The kit we sell is a 2 meter kit instead of a 1 meter kit. So you'll get, two pieces of 8 by 12 millimeter tubing and one of the alarm connection interconnects or alarm
Right.
cable. and they're 2 meters long. Those are just, that's logic level. That's just a switch in there, just a relay.
Right.
Theoretically, you could just cut that in half and use some butt connectors or splice it with some 18 gauge speaker wire and make it longer
Yeah.
that way. 2 wires. If you
Now
wanted to
you're
DIY it.
talking Greek to me, Brian.
Well, the kits are
What the
available.
heck is a butt connect?
The kits are available. I think they're $40. Like if you talk to sales, they might be able to knock off some shipping.
But what about the cord that plugs into the back of the laser? The power cord. Is
Um, you
because I
talking
have
about
the one that snaps in, the one that you put in a
the
turn.
quarter? Yeah, the quarter turn. Yeah.
Right.
You talking about to get a longer one?
You get a longer one, yeah.
You'd probably want to do an extension cord, and I don't normally recommend that, but if it's a 25 or a 50-foot run, I've got a knowledge base article about the best cord to get. That'd probably be your best bet on that. I don't like that extra termination in there, but getting a longer cord with that proprietary connector may be a little bit of a hassle to try to get.
Because I just really want to move it to the other side of the laser, where it's easier for me to get to. So
Oh, you're talking about the cord from the chiller to the laser.
that's correct.
Okay. Oh, I didn't think about that. You think it's not long enough, is it?
I wouldn't think it's long enough to bring it to the other side of the laser, no.
Okay.
But even if I get the water tubes and the alarm cable, I don't think the cord itself might be long enough.
They make an extension for that cord. It's a computer extension. You know, if you look at the connection on the chiller itself, that's a standard IEC computer connection, just like on the back of a desktop computer or monitor. And
Right.
Amazon makes a male to female extension for those. So you could
Right.
actually extend it on the chiller side and still use that proprietary connector.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, that'll solve the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. This way I can move it around to the other side of the laser.
Right.
And I was just worried the tubing I wasn't a problem. I could go buy that. It was just the alarm cable.
Yeah, that alarm cable, you know, if you've ever wired up a car stereo, you can snip that thing and just put the wires back together and extend them if you really wanted to.
But give me your address and I'll send you my alarm cable. You can fix it for me and send it back.
Okay, I'll do that. Oh man, I've set a precedent. Now I'm gonna have 500 cables in the mail.
And it's recorded.
I already did mine.
Okay. Well, we'll just send them to Gleno. What's your address, man?
Here you go. But
I
do a
even used the
schematic, you know,
soldering iron.
do a video like Robert does so I can look at it.
There we
Yeah.
go. That's an option. That's a good idea too. So
You guys see the last tiles that he just did, that he posted? The black Robert did great work. They're really nice. Those
Oh, yeah.
tiles.
Thank you. Appreciate that, John.
That's good work.
now
They just
I've
look
played with some of those floor tiles, and some of them you can engrave and they'll be nice and pretty white underneath, and some of them there's no contrast at all. Did you have to paint fill that or anything, or was it like that?
No, you're right, Brian. Matter of fact, I found some of the prettiest slate that I've ever seen. Had ordered it. It came in, and that's what I originally wanted for that sign. And it was nothing. No matter what you did, there was virtually no contrast there.
Yeah.
And so it really is material specific. And I've used this same slate on other signs, and it's been beautiful. But this run of slate, for whatever reason, and it seemed like it was a little bit thicker than normal. But yeah, you couldn't get any contrast no matter how much power you put to it.
It's crazy what different things can affect that little beam of light. You know, like even doing tumblers, the difference between doing a pink tumbler and a dark blue tumbler.
Sure. Yep.
Even the color can make a difference. So it's crazy how that works. This may be a short one. Trying to think of something else. Looks like Ron kicked out for a minute. Well, does anybody have any other questions? Joe, you got any questions or comments or anything?
So just off the top of my head, I'm just about to start trying to do that, like engraving and paint filling on acrylic, which might be tomorrow, it might be next week that I start messing with that. But I noticed, like, I was watching some videos and people engrave just the masking on the top of the acrylic and then they peel it off. So are you actually going through to the acrylic? And I assume that's just like a really light, kind of like doing paper, just gentle
Yeah. I'd
settings
say
at that
you have to
point.
dial it in pretty close to intentionally only get rid of the masking. It can
Yeah.
be done with enough dialing in, I think. But you may get some on the acrylic. Yeah, I mean,
I'm
it may.
guessing some's going to go through, and I don't suppose it's a huge issue if it does, 'cause if it's going to get painted anyway. So I assume that'll fill the lines, and you wouldn't see it too much anyway.
Right. I would almost think if I was going to paint fill acrylic, I would want there to be some depth there, to give it a good place to lay in it here. And also
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
also make it where it's not, an additive process where it's above the level of the substrate. It may help with wear and tear and that kind of thing.
Right.
So, and depends on what you're going to fill it with. If you're going to pour it with epoxy, you'd want it real deep, not real deep, relatively deep.
Mm.
If you're going to use a real thin acrylic and just basically color it like a dye, then
Yeah, which is more my thinking. Just some acrylic paint with a brush or whatever.
right.
Somebody did a video the other night where they used a paint pen. They did it
Oh
on
yeah.
acrylic. They made a sub wall and they engraved it with the paper on it, and then used a gold marker that they bought at Walmart and went over it, and then removed the backing, and it looked really great.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a nice job. They used a
Cool.
paint pen.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool tricks to paint fill things and use dyes, heaves, inks. I don't know, Robert, have you seen those? I haven't played with them. They're expensive.
Are you
Yeah,
still talking
I've seen them,
about
but I haven't used them, Brian. Like same, I just haven't had the chance. I've used the oil-based paint pens that I use for like the Apple Watch bands and that kind of stuff on acrylic, and that seems to work pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I need to write heaves and see if they'll send us some samples so we can do some testing.
There you go.
That might not be a bad idea.
Yep.
Hold on, I'm making myself a note.
On your forehead.
I'm using my Post-it notes for now. If it gets really bad, I'll go to the Sharpie. We still got about 20 minutes. We don't really have any sort of curriculum outlined. I don't know if anybody else has anything. Kind of got a shorter crew here. A lot of the usual.
I'm sure I could think of another.
All right, come on, Ron. You have to have one more question before we.
I'm sure I could think of another question regarding my damn exhaust planning, because I'm still like on the fence about where I mount that.
I mean, like up high or down low? Or...
Does anyone else hear me echoing, or just me?
Yeah.
I hadn't been before. Weird. No, I'm still on the fence about where I have the blower fan. If I have it like on my wall above the laser before it goes into the attic space, or if I like mount it up in the attic space if I'm exhausting through the roof.
How hard is it to get in that space? Because you're going to have to go up there and clean that fan periodically.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't planning on making it super accessible. Like there's not going to be like an attic door or anything, so it'd involve like taking down like a panel of plywood off the ceiling.
Mine are mounted above my laser, but I only have about 1.5 feet of material, after that going out to the exit, Now, if you
maybe a better question, maybe a better. I know your support article like said like it's best to have the fan as close to the exit as possible, right?
Mhm.
Is like a stretch of like say 5 feet from the outside, is that like too far, or is that like nothing?
It's better. And if that section is up in the attic, there's less chance that could get back down into your area, if it did develop a leak or blow out of a crack or something.
Yeah, because what I was thinking is have the fan mounted on the wall above the laser. I'd get the quieter one, obviously the what's it called, the AC Infinity.
Right.
mount that like right before the ceiling, and then the inside the ceiling, the exhaust piping would go like 5 feet away from the eave of the roof because it
Hmm.
that wall, and then it'd go like out straight out the ceiling. So maybe 4 or 5 feet into the attic space, and then out.
I,
Um,
I think if you made all that in the attic rigid, it would be better.
yeah.
And then of course have a flex, maybe a flex, just one section to mount that fan, although it doesn't vibrate much, but I always add a dampener there between
Okay.
rigid, and put a little piece of flex. I don't guess you'd have to.
Yeah, I was planning on making the attic stuff rigid. Would you the like rigid metal or rigid like
Yeah.
PVC or what?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
run that rigid metal. Yeah, just a
Okay.
standard. Yeah, I think you're on the
Okay.
right track. That should be fine.
Okay. Because yeah, I just don't want to have to like go in there to service it because I definitely know they build up residue and like little specks of paper or tiny plywood that like weighs nothing and gets sucked
Yeah,
up in there. And, yeah.
especially
Um,
all the glue. If you do a lot of well, even natural wood, you get the sap and stuff, but
yeah.
especially engineered lumber, all
Or
the glue
even
and stuff sticking
or
everywhere.
the acrylic dust like turns
Yeah,
gummy
it is.
and yep. So okay, I think I'm feeling more confident about. I've been like so like on the um, fence about it because I don't want to cut a hole in my roof of the garage until I'm confident that yeah I'm gonna for sure vent like right there because if I was gonna vent through the wall instead then obviously but okay.
Yeah. Of course, I went through the wall and I made mine up high, and somebody came over the other day and said, "What are those things on the outside of your brick?" And I said, "Those are vents for the laser." And why are they up so high? Because I've got them about 6 feet high, and
Hmm.
I don't really know why. I just did. I just figured I wanted it to be as far up as I could,
Yeah.
to let it exhaust and not, if it was
Yeah.
cooler, smoke stays low. I didn't want it to
Yeah.
blanket the neighborhood, but
I mean on Halloween that could be a good thing, right? You could have your own
it,
fog machine just.
it could burn a bunch of leather and make it smell like stinking burning
Oh
flesh.
yeah. I mean, last time I cut leather at the makerspace, someone like came in the laser room and like the vent the fan in there like vents to the parking lot, and they're like, it smells like burnt hair in the parking lot. I'm like, yep, sorry, cutting
No, that
leather.
was fingernails. You were
Yeah,
close, not quite.
close. Yeah, it's all what's it called? That protein, keratin. Yeah,
Yeah.
Curtain.
yep.
You gonna put a damper on the outside vent?
Uh,
If
what
Only
it's
do you?
going
because
to
of the
the roof,
cold
it'll
air
probably
coming back
have a cap
in,
on it.
Yeah, like I was thinking, just like gravity.
right?
Is that enough to like if I'm in Minnesota, so in the winter like there'll be quite a bit of cold air up there. But
Yeah, that should be more than enough. It's
okay,
just so
Leave
the
your laser,
cold air
leave the
doesn't
lid
go
in your
back
laser
in.
room when
what's
you're
that,
not
Brian?
using. Leave the lid up in
Oh,
case any of that cool air does get in through the exhaust. At least
yeah,
it'll evacuate into the room a little bit and not just
yeah,
build up in the laser. It may help equalize the temperature inside a little better if it does get a
yeah.
little cold.
I did do some. I think in one of the previous calls I had like asked about like if venting to the outside, if it would like completely remove all my heat from the space, like if I
Like,
because I climate controlling the garage or whatever. And
it'll
I
sort it out pretty quick.
I looked up the CFM, the cubic feet per minute moved of like the AC Infinity versus like my Mitsubishi Mini Split, and uh, even if once you subtract them, like the heat still would have like an extra 800 or so like CFM like on. So I'm not afraid of that anymore. But like completely shooting all the heat in the garage right out
Yeah,
the right out
Mhm.
the. So
gotcha.
that's good.
Hey, Ron,
Uh,
do you sleep at night or you just think about this? Sounds like you do. So,
I
I don't
mean,
when you have time to sleep.
I
Ron can
mean,
have a party when he pulls the trigger.
Yeah,
oh yeah,
right.
like when I finally pull the trigger, like I'll be like not sleeping as I like think maybe tomorrow my laser will come. Like, yeah, it'll be a very uh anxious like 3 weeks for
Oh,
sure.
you'll be pacing.
Once you pull the trigger, it'll be all setup questions next.
What's that?
I said, when you pull the trigger, it'll be all setup questions instead.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and just think about it. You've put so much energy into making sure you have everything right. Once you get it that way and you get your laser, you're really going to have nothing to do, and you're going to go insane.
Well, see, it's partially like part of like all this like pre-planning for me is like afraid of like doing something wrong or planning something wrong, and then like when I get it and I'm like, why did I do it like that? I already had that happen with the electrical in the garage. I thought I was done with all the circuits I could possibly need, and then I realized that the lathe I want to buy in the future requires 240, and I didn't put any 240 on that wall, so I had to do like an old work box and like fish the wire down, and it's like, so I'm like, what am I doing with the laser that's gonna fall in that realm? Like, what am I missing in terms of the planning that I'm gonna like be kicking myself for?
I think your due diligence is going to pay off.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
But
So, well, cool. I don't really have anything else, and we're close. We got 14 minutes left, but Robert, you got anything, man?
Nope,
Before we,
I'm good, buddy.
all right. Well, I mean, I guess if since I've tended to go over 15 or 20 minutes on these anyway, cutting off short one time won't hurt. So,
I do have one question just for the other folks on the call. How many of you use the Lightburn art library?
Haven't discovered it at all, to be honest.
Really? Well, the only reason I ask is I've had a number of people ask me to show them how to set it up, and every time I show somebody, I struggle a little bit because it's weird how to set it up at first, and then once you get it set up, man, it's a piece of cake. And
is it
I was thinking about doing a short video on how to set that up. Chris did a great job on a video on how to use it, but the tricky part is getting the file established and then start naming your folders. But until you do that, you really can't do much with it. And it's a great function uh, once you get it set up. So I was just curious if any of you have used it and if that video would be helpful.
is it if I'm understanding the way you're describing it, is it a way of like easily organizing your frequently used like artwork?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's basically a drag and drop. Once you get it, you can name your folders, and then within your folders, you'll have all your artwork. It shows you icons for all of your artwork, and then basically you just drag it onto the desktop and use it. You can import them, you can rename them. It's a great little tool. Some of the things I use it for is like Tumblr templates. So
Hmm.
those are all pre-drawn, and I've just got to drag them into my desktop, and I've already got my Tumblr template, and I do my design, and it just eliminates a step. It makes it really nice.
Cool.
I'm just playing with it. I've never played with it either.
Well, I would certainly watch a video on it because it sounds like something I should play with.
Yeah, I kind of knew what it did, but like you say, I don't know the intricacies of getting it set up. It looks like you do need to know about the hierarchy, how you want to have it laid out ahead of time.
Exactly. That's a confusing part because the new button down there will take you to it'll ask you to point to where your file is located, and if you don't understand what it's asking you to do, you get right here and you go, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Gotcha.
What
Then
that's asking you is that it wants you to go back to the original file folder that you created for this library. And if you don't know this, it kind of gets you in this vicious loop and you never figure it out.
Gotcha. That's kind of like the library. You know, when you load a library, if it moves a path or something, you're going to have to go back and
Yep.
reassociate it or go hunt it down and find it again. So yeah.
So
Okay.
does it then, so does it then um, keep copies of the artwork you put in that
I think it's just
library,
shortcuts.
Yes. Yep.
shortcuts or copies of it?
Yeah.
Or
Let
keep
me.
the, doesn't it keep the reference where it is?
Yeah, I think so.
It doesn't
And
keep the actual file. It just tells you where it is on your computer.
Well, yeah. Actually, what happens is you'll actually upload that to that file. So it actually keeps that artwork in that file folder.
That's right, it does. Yeah,
Yep.
because it is an upload.
Yep.
Now I wonder if it's just called an upload, but like he says, it's basically just referenced in the path
No, it's all housed within that
within the
file
library. 'Cause
folder subfolder.
it
So
converts
it's
it
a
into.
second copy of the artwork. In essence, you have two copies of it. One in the file that you originally kept it in, and then
Well,
it's also in the file of the library.
Yes.
yeah, I think it's not quite the same file though. I think it's in an XML format or something. I think it breaks it apart.
Yeah, I can show. I don't know if I can share my screen, Brian. I can show you guys if you've got a second.
I think you can share your screen. Here's that library, and if I open it, let me just look at something really quick here. Where's open with Notepad? I think it's XML. I'll pull it over here where you can see it here in just a second. Let me find the
Yeah,
Notepad.
that'll be that'll
Oh,
tell you for sure. Because if it's just like a path to where it is on your computer, then I
oh,
guess
yeah, I
I
don't
can't.
know.
Oh wait, it's huge.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
So
Garbage.
no, it's not. It's not
Yeah.
XML.
Nope.
Some
No,
proprietary format.
I think I can get you to share the screen. Let me see here. I think if I find Robert and make presenter, there we go. You should be able to do it.
Okay.
You're presenting. There we go.
You guys see that? Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Let me move you out of the way here. So the art library here, and so you've got the hierarchy is that I've got a file that's just called the Lightburn Art Library, and then within that you've got a file folder for basic shapes, you know, and what you're doing is if you like down here to Tumblr templates, if I wanted to do a 20-ounce JDS, I just drag it over and there it is, and it's all predetermined on the size. And so it saves a lot of time. And then if I wanted to add a new category in here, I could press new, and this is where everybody has trouble. If you press new to add another library, it
Oh,
wants to know
it,
where is that?
it creates a
And
whole new library
right,
instead of, okay. So ultimately you can navigate to the same one you just created.
right.
If
Yeah,
you have to.
but if you don't know that you've created, the trick to this whole thing is if you create a file folder to begin with before you start this process,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a piece of cake because you've got a destination to go to.
I
But it
see.
doesn't tell you that. It just wants to know, where do you want me to put this? And you go, well, okay, let's put it on my desktop. The problem is if it's not named, it sticks it in a file that you can't find.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
And if your desktop ever gets cleaned up, it's gone.
yeah, it's crazy. So the nice thing about these is, you know, you can add as many of these as you want, and then you can, the way it works is if I wanted to upload this design, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, then I just import this graphic, I give it a name, and it'll show up. And
Yeah.
now you have the ability to change the icon size here. Then if I don't want to see any of these, I can unload those.
Oh, okay.
And then if I want to see them again, I just reload them, go back to the file that this is all housed in. I think the original one I was messing with this last night trying to figure it out. And so here's the main
Mm-hmm.
file folder. And then these are actually LBART files
Yeah.
for each one of these. So you have a file folder. So like if I wanted to, I think I just turned off wildlife. If I wanted to reload that, I would just, and you can select a number of ones in one fell swoop with these check marks and say open, and then it reloads it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can unload and load these real quick so you can keep this, you know, simple.
This would
But
also work well with Lightburn, I think, if you had multiple instances of Lightburn or I'm sorry, Dropbox, and you wanted to set up your folders where they were in Dropbox. I think you could probably make global changes that way
yeah,
by using the Dropbox thing or whatever network sharing thing you use.
yep. But this is a nice little tool to have. It's just understanding how you set it up to begin with. And the key is, as long as you go and name your main file folder first, and then if you didn't have anything in here for folders and you went to new, all you'd have to do is go to that Lightburn Art Library main folder and name it, and away you go.
So each category you create is technically a separate library file, basically.
Yeah. So if I come in here and I say new, and it should drive me back to where I was. And if I wanted to go test, I would say save.
And now it's there. Now you can
Now
import.
it's there. If I wanted to load this graphic in there, I would import it. And there it is.
Mm-hmm. That's neat with the monograms. That's perfect for those to be able to go through and find them quick. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, there's just a lot of little stuff and a lot of your design basic shapes, and everybody works a little bit differently, but it's easy to manage too. You can take this, you can delete things if you don't need it any longer. You can import it from a project. So a lot of times, you've got, like, you pay for designs on Etsy or something like that, and you want to keep track of them. You could just have external art uploaded and handy. And the good thing about it is, if I haven't used any flags for a while, I can unload them, and then reloading them, I would just come back here, pick the flags here, and they come back.
Wonder. I bet that would work okay if you shared. I wonder if you share that file, if it would go. That's one way to determine if it was really just going to the relative path or whether it truly did it. If you shared that LBART file with me, I should be able to pull up that information. We ought to try that.
Right.
My inclination is based on how long it took Notepad to open that file, that it's the full artwork. Yeah.
I think so too.
I would bet too. Yep. Yeah, because there's a lot of this artwork that's not on my hard drive in any way. It's on a backup jump drive, but it's not on my hard drive. So it has to be housed within that Lightburn file.
Yeah. Cool.
So anyway.
Yeah, more too. Awesome. You pulled out the other 15 minutes for us. Today.
Let's see, how do I get out of this now? Let's see.
There should be a button where you can unshare. I can maybe make you not presenter anymore. That might kill it.
I don't see a button, so.
Let's see. Make presenter.
There we go.
There. And then I'll turn mine off. Well, I think I'm fixing to conclude, so I'll just let it stay. Well, anyway, cool. All right. Well, that was a little bit different stuff today, so that was good. I guess and I think I'm going to have another topic for part of the session, next week. We'll cover a little something else and then kind of have an open, I think that works well. Cover something and then kind of have an open discussion. And I'll see about getting some more new faces in here. I love seeing y'all, but I want to see some new faces in here too. So,
hey, Brian, can I get your email in case I have any questions as I approach the sales stuff?
Yeah, man. It's Brian at thunderlaserusa.com.
Laserusa.com. Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. All right. You guys got anything else?
I'm sure, Brian, you're going to get an email at 3 o'clock in the morning from Ron worrying about where he's going to put his fan.
I may just answer at 3 o'clock in the morning. You never know.
Brian doesn't sleep much.
I appreciate becoming like an inside joke for this group, so that's totally cool. It's like Ron at 3 a.m. like thinking about the exhaust fan in the garage, like keeping it rolling, it, tossing and turning. Yeah, totally me.
Yeah, we got you. You're all good.
Cool.
All All right, guys. Well, I guess
All
we'll
right.
see you next time. If I don't talk to you before the weekend, I hope you guys have a good one.
You
All
too.
right. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Later.
See ya. Bye.